Welcome to AQA Geography. Today we're looking at the command words of assess and justify. These would typically be 6 or 9 marks. For the command word assess, you'll look at the evidence presented, come to a reasoned or an informed judgment. For the command word justify, you're going to have to come up with a decision yourself and justify why you think it is correct. For both, you're going to look at the positives and the negatives, a very similar structure to what extent. As ever, come in with the case studies, the examples, geography words, place names, and also SEE, social, economic and environmental. On the support slide here, we've got to make 2 supporting decisions why you think, and it's going to be the positives. Use peel, point, evidence, explain and link back to the question with a mini decision. Then we're going to look at one piece of evidence on the opposite point of view with your reasoned decision, your peel sentences, which is your point, evidence, explain, link back to the question, make a mini decision before you reach your final decision. You need to show for top marks, as it says here, that you know the full understanding of both sides of the argument. Here we have quite a lot of material about the assess and justify command words. So pause here, have a glance through the information so you get a feel for what's going to come up in the rest of this slide. So pause here. In order to get top marks on assess and justify, you need to show that you fully understand the argument and the issue before you reach a judgment. So that's a full understanding with data, geography words, development, place names and examples. A possible question might be, assess the impacts of tourism in an upland glaciated area in the UK that you have studied. That could be 6 or 9 marks. The structure in the middle. We've got the positives, we've got the negatives. Your first sentence is going to be including the case study, and you might want to refer to a number or a percentage. So that's assessing the impacts. Again, look at the top right, and it's the social, economic and environmental impacts you might want to refer to. So in your first sentence, give it a number. So you can say the word extent, 70% or 7 out of 10. That helps to structure your answers. So in the pink box in the top right, your first sentence is going to be all about name the upland glaciated area, which will be the Lake District, give a number, give a percentage, and say how much or how little it's been impacted. Your second sentence is going to be your first peel sentence or peel paragraph, which is about the positives of the impact of tourism. Then make a mini decision. So for example, it says the advantages are, or the positives are, of tourism. This is because, this means that, and keep developing that if you want with more things. And then of course make that mini decision, which is here. In order to make that mini decision, you're going to say things like, this is important because, or this is significant because. That's a mini decision, which is assessment objective 3 in the exam mark scheme criteria, the decision making or the application of knowledge. Your paragraph 3 is going to be the negatives, and that's going to be the opposite point of view. So why tourism isn't a positive thing in your upland glaciated area. Then make a mini decision. So here we've got the things we've seen before, which is the disadvantages of tourism are, this is because, this means that, so develop your ideas. And of course your mini decision, this is important or this is significant because. Now at this stage you might find you haven't got a balanced idea, you haven't got a balanced point of view, and that's fine, because if you've said 70 or 30%, you now need to be thinking about another positive or another negative. So drop in another peel paragraph if that's the case with a mini decision. At the end, weigh up your evidence and make your final decision or your summary, justify your point of view. So your sentence might say, in summary, the evidence shows that X is significant, and X in this case is tourism in an upland glaciated area of the Lake District. The next slide, we're going to remove all the information on the left-hand side, move the information to the left. That gives us a chance on the right-hand side to have a sample answer to see what this looks like in a real answer. So on the left-hand side here, we've got the structure again, the positives, the negatives, your main decision, and how to work out your answer. Down the centre, we've got what you might want to put into your answer. So the starting sentence, the advantages, the disadvantages, and at the end, the summary. So we've got the upland glaciated area. The question is, assess the impacts of tourism in an upland glaciated area in the UK that you have studied. So the first sentence might be, the visit of 21 million tourists to the Lake District has had economic and social and environmental impacts. That tells us the name of the place, it gives us a bit of data and starts our references to SEE, social, economic and environmental. Your next paragraph is all about the advantages. So the advantages of tourism is the impact upon the economy. So tell us there how much money is made per year in the Lake District from tourism. It's just over £1 billion per year. This means that, and then talk about jobs and the tax that people pay. There are also, and then give a number, about 54,000 people employed in the tourist industry. This results in, and then give us some knock-on effects, some meanings that, and then your mini decision, which is, this is significant because. Then give us some negatives, which is, however, what percentage of the properties are second homes? That might be a social impact, so 20% are second homes. This means that, and they could talk about in the winter time, people aren't living in these homes. The knock-on effect of that is for local services like shops, they're not getting the custom. Also, many of the jobs are seasonal, so when people are visiting in just before summer, during summer and in the early autumn time. So that means that other parts of the year there's going to be high unemployment or maybe temporary contracts. Maybe a lot of the jobs are going to be low paid jobs in terms of lower skilled service work. Then we're going to talk about the environmental problems. So the environmental problems to do with traffic, about 95% of people arrive by car. And then you could talk about the impact of pollution and the congestion and traffic jams and the lack of parking. You could finish that off with, this is significant because that's your mini decision. Finally, you're then going to come up to your summing up or your final decision, and that is, overall, although the economic impacts are positive, it can be seen that the environmental impacts or the social impacts, so you're just going to drop in there whatever you think, whatever fits with your argument, and you're going to talk about the social, economic, and say upland glaciated area in the UK, and talk about impacts, and name the area, so the Lake District, if that's the one that you have studied. The key points to remember for the assess and justify command words are, you're going to give evidence and consider it and come up with a reasoned, informed judgment. Give it a number, maybe a percentage, maybe 70% or 7 out of 10. Make sure you fully understand both sides of the argument, the positives and negatives, the advantages, disadvantages. Come up with a couple of positive points with peel, case study, examples, geography words, place names, and one against. Include, if you want to, SEE, social, economic and environmental, before reaching your final decision to assess something or justify your decision about an issue.